Hello and welcome back to another flute tip of the week. This week was half term for all the schools, and so it was also half term for all the teachers. And the other day, I went to the robot exhibit at the Science Museum here in London, and it's remarkable to see the development of robots in human form, even as small as insects and little gears for watches and clocks, date back over 500 years. Except there was this one robot that was a mechanized sculpture of Jesus, and basically what it does is it turns its head to look at you while it bleeds wooden blood. This was in the 1600s, so I'm guessing maybe this is the reason why they stopped supporting science for a while. But seeing this exhibit on robotics seeking to copy the human form got me thinking about the one major difference that a robot won't be able to do, and that's breathing. And so enter this week's subject. The biggest factor in your musicality is your breathing. Now, I'm not talking about breathing in just the mechanic sense, where you need enough air to be able to play through the whole phrase. I'm talking how it works not only on a physical level, but aesthetically. I remember the first time thinking about this when I was about 12 or 13, and I was playing in a student recital for my teacher's studio. And after I played, I went and I sat beside my family, and my brother leans in and he says, "Do you just not breathe? I've been worrying about you the last 10 minutes. Are you okay?" And that was really the first time I realized that the way that someone sounds, if they're breathing or going a long way without breathing, really does affect the audience. This also happened more recently, not with my playing, but with a professional flautist when we were in the Netherlands, and he was doing circular breathing, and apparently there was a woman in the audience who had to leave because she almost passed out because she was breathing along with him, so clearly she wasn't breathing. And these are extreme examples of the effect of the breathing on the audience, but it really does bring to mind how important it is, not just as a physical and anatomical need, but in a musical and performance setting. The first thing I want to mention is breathing low so that even the pitch of your breath is low. Much like how it works with the flute, the longer the tube is, the lower the sound is. It's the same for our lung cavities. If you're breathing high so that you can hear it sounding high like this, then really you're just covering from your chest, which does not have a lot of air capacity. But if you breathe so that the pitch of it is lower, that immediately makes my stomach move forward because I am filling from the bottom up. And this also has a difference on your sound quality, because if you breathe high, you're engaging a lot more muscles to be able to pull the breath in. Meanwhile, if you're breathing so that the tone is low, it's simply allowing the air to come in. And this will result not only in having a lot more air, but also having your muscles a lot more relaxed and allowing your sound to really resonate from inside of you all the way out. So for example, if I were to play something with a high breath, and then a low breath, difference in also what harmonics you can hear in the sound. Because as soon as I breathed high, all of the depth was gone. And so I wasn't able to get as rich a sound as especially Carmen would need. Another important thing to bring into your daily practice and obviously performance is allowing yourself to have the time to have a relaxed breath before actually starting the piece. This is going to be the time when you're playing that you have the most time to breathe. So if you're, say, waiting for the piano to finish the introduction, you need to be breathing a lot sooner than just a beat before you enter. Because when that happens, you start off with the tense, tight sound that I had just exhibited, which not only makes it so that you have a very weak entry and doesn't set you in the best light in terms of first impressions, but it also means that you're going to already feel tense in the very first phrase of what you're playing, which does not set you up very well for the rest of the piece. You're going to be spending your other breaths trying to make up for the fact that you didn't have a strong one to begin with. So I'm going to do the opening of Carmen again, and even though I'm going to be using my low breath, I am going to show the difference between having lots of time to breathe beforehand and breathing just before I have to play. As you could tell, I had a lot more control over what I was doing with the second breath. With the first one, I was so busy trying to react to the fact that I don't have much time left that I wasn't able to control my volume right away. And even though I got all the way to the end of the phrase, despite normally not really needing to take a breath after that, I was almost out of air. And even though I physically took a correct breath in terms of breathing very low, the fact that I had to work so hard to draw in air quickly and only giving myself that much time to set up, there was just no hope of winning. Meanwhile, it makes a huge difference when you take almost a full bar to really set yourself and take a nice deep breath. And the same can be true for faster pieces. You do want to still breathe in the character of what you're going to be playing, but if it's something quick and energetic, you'll want to preface it with a nice slow breath. And the reason why is, again, the same as my first 2 points. If you don't have enough air and you don't have the time to get your body set up, then you're just going to be hanging yourself out to dry. So for a more energetic piece, what you'll want to do is take a longer breath and then take the last amount of your breath more in character. So that would be something like this. And with that breath, I was set almost for the rest of the piece. And with this kind of breath at the beginning of pieces or at the beginning of excerpts, you can really set yourself up for success in terms of performance and auditions. Because in both cases, the listener needs to feel confident when you're playing that you are going to be able to do this nice and easily, even if it is a really difficult piece that's coming up. You need to show them that you have the confidence and the stability to do whatever you need to do. And the way to best show them that right from the very beginning is with a nice, relaxed, and controlled breath. But of course, the beginning isn't the only time we're going to be breathing. So we also need to get a better control of how we're breathing in the middle of a piece during phrases. The same general rules apply. You still need to have the low sounding breaths so that you're not tightening up and losing your control over your air as soon as you take your breath. But obviously, we have a time constraint. And so we need to work on exactly where to place our breath in terms of whether we shave time off the note before or completely omit the note before. And again, another good excerpt for practicing this is indeed the Mendelssohn Scherzo, because this is really a show of breath control as well as technical, dynamic, all that jazz. And if you do find that you have trouble getting nice deep breaths in the middle of phrases, or even just being able to work on the amount of time needed to be able to take a full breath, then the Scherzo is actually a really good piece to measure your development. Because if you think about it, the way that this piece is structured is the flute has essentially continuous semiquavers over a rhythm of bum, 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 bum. And so you can't stop. You can't suddenly extend one note just because you need to take a breath. And this is where having a low catch breath is really important, because you don't want to be stuck suddenly doing this. Obviously, that adds way too much time, and also you don't really need all that much air to be able to continue on. Because another part of breathing, not only anatomically correctly, but musically, is knowing how much air you're going to need. Luckily, we're not oboists where we have a ton of back pressure, meaning that we'll have to end a lot of phrases by breathing out. But if we use our breathing comfortably and correctly, then we're able to measure how much we're going to need during the course of the piece. Now I'm going to do that excerpt again just until after the second breath, and I'm going to be doing the low breath and just allowing my air to fill. And with that kind of breathing, not only are you able to stay in the character of the excerpt, but it doesn't hinder your momentum. And it's for these reasons that it's really important to understand exactly how your body needs to react to incoming air so that you're able to do everything musically that you need to. We don't need to add an additional obstacle when really this is the thing that we can control the easiest. So again, that tip was the biggest factor in your musicality is breathing. I hope you find this week's tip helpful. I just realized that I actually use Carmen in a fair number of my tip videos. Neat. I'll see you all next week. Flute happy, breathe happy. When you're at a carnival and you're playing the games, you only think of if you can win the toy, but not if you should win the toy. I've had this guy sitting on my desk chair for 2 months. You only ever think about how big a toy you can win.